I was looking at philosophy, Bajuna explained. I was looking at the techniques he used when he was in America. He wanted to go to Europe, so he had a rich benefactor who went on a 6-week tour of France, England, Germany, Switzerland, Holland, and then back arranging lectures. That's how he did most of his tour. He had 1 or 2 influential people, and they arranged everything, and the lectures were arranged in society. So, you can arrange that, Prabhupada asked? I was thinking that there would be a Royal Asiatic Society in London. I think Thakur Bhaktivinoda was a member of that. But where is Thakur Bhaktivinoda Sangha Association? Prabhupada asked. Well, Pajuna continued, still there may be some people you could open correspondence with. They might be interested in sponsoring you. Is there anything about Krishna in Swami's speech, Prabhupada asked? No. Prabhupada sat thoughtfully. In England, he would have no place to stay. Arjuna might talk of influential persons traveling ahead and making all the arrangements. But where were such persons? Here was a shy girl who could barely speak up, whose father would not help. Arjuna reading an atheist Swami and talking of a Royal Asiatic Society, but nothing practical. Prabhupada had plans. He had asked Mukunda and Shyamasunder to go to London and try to establish an ISKCON centre. They had agreed and would be arriving in Montreal from San Francisco in a few days. Srila Prabhupada ki? So today is the disappearance of Raghunath Das, Raghunath Bhatta, and Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. So this is a section about them. Shri Raghunath Das Goswami. Shri Raghunath Das Goswami was most probably born in the year 1416 Shikshapta in the village of Sri Krishna Pura. As the son of Govardhan Majumdara, he was the younger brother of the then Zamindar Hiranya Majumdara. His spiritual master at home was Yadunandanacharya. In Palihati, he arranged for a feast of chipped rice and yogurt for Nityananda and all his associates. Sri Nityananda was very pleased with him, and by his mercy, Raghunath Das could attain the association of Lord Gauranga. Although Raghunath Das was a family man, he had no attachment for his estate and wife. Seeing his tendency to leave on his father and uncle, engaged special bodyguards to watch over him, and nevertheless he managed to escape their vigilance and went away to Jagannath Puri to be treated in a Mahaprabhu. This incident took place in the year 1439. The Lord entrusted him to the care of Swarup Damodar, his secretary, as they both engaged in the confidential service of the Lord, attending to his baths, meals, rest, massages, etc. He rendered his service to Jagannath in Jagannath Puri for 16 years, and after the disappearance of both the Lord and Swarup Damodar, he left Jagannath Puri for Vrindavan. Raghunath Das intended to go to Vrindavan to see the lotus feet of Rupa and Sanatan, and then give up his life by jumping from Govardhan Hill. The two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, however, didn't allow him to die. They accepted him as their third brother and kept him in their company. Because Raghunath Das Goswami was an assistant to Swarup Damodar, he knew much about the external and internal features of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Thus the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, used to hear of this from him. Raghunath Das compiled 3 books named Stavamala or Skavavali, Dhanacharita, and Muktacharita. He lived for a long duration of life. For most of his life, he resided at Radhakund. He almost completely gave up eating, and therefore he was very skinny and of weak health. His only concern was to chant the holy name of the Lord. He gradually reduced his sleeping until he was almost not sleeping at all. It is said that his eyes were always full of tears. When Srinivasacharya went to see him, Goswami blessed him by embracing him. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was formerly the gopi named Rasimanjari. Sometimes it is said that he was Rati Manjari. Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was born in approximately 1425 Shikshapta as the son of Tatana Mishra, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya stayed at the house of Tatana Mishra, Raghunath Bhatta, who was then a boy, washed his dishes and massaged his legs. When Raghunath grew to be a young man, he visited Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri and stayed there for 8 months. Lord Chaitanya asked him not to marry, but remain a brahmachari. Sometimes he offered prasadam to the Lord. He was an expert cook. Whatever he cooked would be nectary. Lord Chaitanya was greatly pleased to accept the foodstuff that he cooked, and he would take the remnants left by the Lord. Later, by the order of Lord Chaitanya, he went to Vrindavan and remained there, under the shelter of Sri Rupa Goswami, for whom he recited the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was so expert that he would recite each verse of the Bhagavatam in 3 melodious tunes. While living with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord blessed him by offering him betel nuts offered to the Jagannath deity and a garland of tulsi, said to be as long as 14 cubits. The Govinda temple was constructed by Raghunath Bhatta Goswami's order to one of his disciples. Raghunath Bhatta supplied all the ornaments of the Govinda deity. He never talked of nonsense or worldly matters, but was engaged in hearing about Krishna. He never cared to hear blasphemy of the Vaishnava. Even when there were points to be criticized, he used to say that since all the Vaishnavas were engaged in the service of the Lord, he didn't mind their faults. Later, Raghunath Bhatta lived by Radhikund in a small cottage. He was formerly the gopi named Raga Manjari. Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami ki jai. Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Appearing near Katwa, Krishnadas Kaviraj left for Vrindavan after Lord Nityananda told him in a dream, "Oh my dear Krishnadas, do not be afraid. Go to Vrindavan, for there you will attain all things." Krishnadas took Diksha from Raghunath Das Goswami. He lived a renounced life at Shamakund near Manasa Pavanagat, Radharani's midday bathing place. Shri Jiva Goswami, as per his custom of giving titles of honor to qualified devotees, gave Krishnadas the title Kaviraj, the king of poets, for his poetic masterpiece of Govinda Lilamrita. During Krishnadas's time, all the Vaishnavas would gather at Govindaji's temple to hear Sri Haridas Pandit read Sri Chaitanya Bhagavatam. The devotees were eager to hear Ganga's later pastimes, so they asked Krishnadas Kaviraj to write them. Krishnadas prayed to Madan Mohan for ability and blessings. The deity's flower garland fell down, indicating divine sanction. Krishnadas Kaviraj's Chaitanya Charitamrita is the most accurate, authentic, and philosophical biography of Lord Chaitanya. Every line is full of infinite humility, enthusiasm, and devotion for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Krishnadas had the wonderful power of speaking without offending, even when rebuking his opponents. He had vast knowledge in all Vedic scriptures. His books show his skill in the Shrutis, Smritis, Nyaya, Jyotisha, and culinary arts. Although he was an erudite scholar and a strict ascetic, a Paramahamsa Rasika Vaishnav, Krishnadas himself writes about himself, "I am deaf, dumb, wholly illiterate, worldly minded, and lower than a worm in stool." His personal humility automatically attracts the heart of any reader of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj was a living example of humbler than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. A devotee will advance spiritually and understand Sri Chaitanya's teachings on Radha Krishna Prema Bhakti by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Rajlila Krishnadas Kaviraj is Kasturi Manjari, one of the 8 most intimate maidservants of Srimati Radharani. Shri Vaishnav Thakur's ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
It's text 4 onwards.
Okay.
And could you, if you reach this one, you skip this part.
Okay. Where's the heavy one coming up?
This one.
Pranam, there's a really heavy one.
This one you
Where's
skip.
it?
The
Okay.
translation you can read.
So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 9, the appearance of the demon Vrittasura, from text 4. So I'll just run through the translations, then we'll do the Sanskrit when we get to the one with the purport. Once upon a time, however, the king of heaven, Indra, understood that Vishnu was secretly cheating the demigods by offering oblations on behalf of the demons. He became extremely afraid of being defeated by the demons. And in great anger at Vishrup, he cut Vishrup's 3 heads from his shoulders. Thereafter, the head meant for drinking somaras was transformed into a kapinjala, Francholan partridge. Similarly, the head meant for drinking wine was transformed into a kalavinka sparrow, and the head meant for eating food became a titiri, common partridge. Although Indra was so powerful that he could neutralize the sinful reactions for killing a Brahmin, he repentantly accepted the burden of those reactions with folded hands. He suffered for 1 year, and then to purify himself, he distributed the reactions for this sinful killing among the earth, water, trees, and women. In return for King Indra's benediction, that ditches in the earth would be filled automatically. The land accepted 1/4 of the sinful reactions for killing a Brahmin. Because of those sinful reactions, we find many deserts on the surface of the earth. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. And there's another one after this as well. Because deserts are manifestations of this earth's diseased condition, no auspicious ritualistic ceremony can be performed in a desert. Persons destined to live in deserts are understood to be sharing the reactions for the sin of Brahma Hatya, the killing of a Brahmin. Text 8. In return for Indra's benediction that their branches and twigs would grow back when trimmed, the trees accepted 1/4 of the reactions for killing a Brahmin. Those reactions are visible in the flowing of sap from trees. Therefore, one is forbidden to drink this sap. So text 9. Shazvat. Has it come up yet? No. Should we go through the Sanskrit, yeah? Oh, I see. Okay, so this is just another short prep up. Text 9. In return for Lord Indra's benediction that they would be able to enjoy lusty desires continuously, even during pregnancy, for as long as sex is not injurious to the embryo, women accepted 1/4 of the sinful reactions. As a result of those reactions, women manifest the signs of menstruation every month. Purport. Women as a class are very lusty, and apparently their continuous lusty desires are never satisfied. In return for Lord Indra's benediction that there would be no cessation to their lusty desires, women accepted 1/4 of the sinful reactions for killing a Brahmin. And in return for King Indra's benediction that water would increase the volume of other substances with which it was mixed, water accepted 1/4 of the sinful reactions. Therefore, there are bubbles and foam in water. When one collects water, these should be avoided. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. If water is mixed with milk, fruit juice, or other similar substances, it increases their volume, and no one can understand which has increased. In return for this benediction, water accepted 1/4 of Indra's sinful reactions. These sinful reactions are visible in foam and bubbles. Therefore, one should avoid foam and bubbles while collecting drinking water. Okay, so this one we can do, eh? So this is text 11. So I'll just run through the Sanskrit. Hatraputras tatas tvasta juhavendraya satrave indra satro vivadasva macharim jahi vidvisham hataputra, who lost his son, tata, thereafter, tvasta, juhava, performed the sacrifice, Indraya, of Indra, Shatrave, for creating an enemy. Indra Shatro, O enemy of Indra, Vivadashva, increase, Ma, not, Chiram, after a long time, Jahi, kill, Vidvisham, your enemy. So, translation. After Vishvarup was killed, his father, Twasta, performed ritualistic ceremonies to kill Indra. He offered oblations in the sacrificial fire, saying, O enemy of Indra, flourish to kill your enemy without delay. Prabhupada Ki Jai. There was some defect in Twasta's chanting of the mantra because he chanted it long instead of short, and therefore the meaning changed. Twasta intended to chant the word Indra Shatro, meaning O enemy of Indra. In this mantra, the word Indra is in the possessive case Shashti, and the word Indra Shatro is called Tatpurusha, compound, Tatpurusha Samasa. Unfortunately, instead of chanting the mantra short, Twasta chanted it long, and its meaning changed from the enemy of Indra to Indra, who is an enemy. Consequently, instead of an enemy of Indra's, there emerged the body of Vritasura, of whom Indra was the enemy. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhattarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha panitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So Prabhupada is saying that because the chanting wasn't quite correct, that therefore a different meaning. So instead of enemy of Indra, it changed to Indra, who is an enemy. And that's how Vritasura emerged. Vritrasura. So, so there we have it. Any questions? Interesting, isn't it, that Krupa was giving class and he was saying that there are no hard and fast rules, which indicates that there are hard and fast rules. Otherwise, he wouldn't say there are no hard and fast rules. So generally for mantras, there are hard and fast rules, as in this case. So there's a way that has to be pronounced. For Gayatri, it has to be done 10 minutes before the Sandhya and facing east, and you have to be in a clean state. If you're not, then the mantra won't have its full effect. So the benefit of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is that there are no hard and fast rules. So you can be in an unclean state, you can be facing west on one leg, half asleep, and there'll still be some benefit. Because if you're chanting properly from the heart, then that's actually, that transcends all limitations of the present situation, the present circumstances. Any questions about that? Yes, Peperu.
Hare Krishna. I have a, well, I mean, I'm not sure if it's so much a question, more just that I don't quite understand the pastime. I don't understand who he was supposed to bring forth and then who actually came forth instead. The purport's kind of confusing me. Could you clarify what's going on?
Yeah, well, I could try and clarify what we mean by understand. What do we understand in terms of our present experience, our short life on planet Earth, in Kali Yuga? What do we understand in terms of, what level of understanding do we observe a lot of things, we have observations of a lot of things, but how many things we understand? We don't. I mean, we understand that if you put a seed in the ground, a plant pops out. But we couldn't reproduce that if we said, well, we understand that. So yeah, sometimes in the past time it has to be repeated. Like the fish that came out of the ocean and flew to the moon. A woman said that to Prabhupada. She said, I don't understand. So Prabhupada said, well, repeat it. So she said, the fish flew out of the ocean and flew over to the moon. And Prabhupada said, repeat it again. So she said it 4 or 5 times. And then he said, now do you understand? And she said, I think so. So if you're waiting for the little ping moment to happen, where you suddenly get an epiphany, and you do understand, then you may have to read it a few times for it to sink in. I mean, in one sense, we can accept things. We can say, okay, well, this is what happened, but trying to understand
how things happen or why things happen. We have a very limited grasp of what's possible here in the in this particular Kali, in this particular situation at this particular time. Then we're very heavily compromised. So, but it's either there in the translation and the purport, or if it's not what you're looking for, then it has to be clarified, revealed. I give the understanding by which they can come to me. It's interesting that understanding is compared to Jnana Dipena, the lamp of shining knowledge illuminates, and then we can see things clearly. So understanding something means we see what it is in relation to other things also. Just like when you illuminate the room, you understand where the mridanga is, but you also understand where the cushions are, the radiators, the color of the wall. You don't just understand one small aspect. The whole picture comes into view. That's my way of saying that I don't know.
So from my understanding, it's has to do with the use of the word enemy. So Twester was trying to conjure up Vritrasura as an enemy of Indra, as the aggressor or as one who will, but he said it wrong, and then he said it of whom Indra is the enemy. So this now gives Indra the upper hand.
Oh, I see.
He
Yeah.
said it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as we'll see later in the pastime, it's actually Vritrasura who's, although he's defeated, he's the one who actually gives forth the knowledge on the philosophy. So.
Yeah, at one point Indra's trying to cut his head off his knee, and Vritrasura's encouraging him. Because he's like halfway through it, and he says, just keep going, you know. And he was actually, although he was born in the body of a demon, Vritrasura was actually a devotee. And he had saintly qualities. Yeah, so that's the thing. According to how the Twasta is pronounced, someone has to be in the aggressive role. So Indra was then the one that was put into the aggressive role, rather than Vritrasura. And Vritrasura was quite passive, you know. Imagine encouraging someone to cut your head off. That's quite passive, isn't it? Because generally we're tit for tat, aren't we? So if someone's trying to do something to us, we want to do the same or a little bit worse back to them. We don't just accept, oh well, this is what needs to happen. And also we have a whole series of the twigs, because they were allowed to grow back. I mean, we just assumed that's how things happen. You know, you snap a twig off and it grows back. But it only grows back because there was a benediction from Indra. And so because of that, they agreed to take some of the reaction in the form of sap, which is what's that juice that is really sweet that comes out? Maple syrup, yeah. So we don't take that because it's, or do we? Yeah.
This is a gray area, just like chocolate, because you're not actually drinking the sap, it actually gets boiled down. You take the sap and you boil it down, so that's somewhat purified, and then it's not really drunk, it's the thing about your philosophy is you can talk away from it. So I have seen maple syrup used.
Okay. I don't think you can, no. As far as I know. Interesting. Any questions? I mean, it's nice about, it kind of throws a different angle on chanting, on how the mantra, because one time Srila Prabhupada had some aristocratic Indian guests, and one said to Prabhupada, he said, Srila Prabhupada, do you know that your disciples are not chanting Hare Krishna properly? They're not saying it properly. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, I know that, but Krishna knows who they mean. So because Srila Prabhupada has asked us to chant Hare Krishna, and because he's asked on his invitation we are chanting, then we get a special concession. It's like someone's inviting us into a club that we're not really qualified to be in, but because the person who's inviting us is very highly esteemed in the club, then if he's inviting them in, everybody in the club will just be like, okay, well, it's one of Srila Prabhupada's guests, okay, so let him in.
Just wondering how far it goes, in terms of what Krishna understands, as by saying, like if you see like a here, kitty, here, kitty, you're inviting the or shnik, ram, like Kripamaya Prabhu was saying the other day. So you wonder, how far it goes, and like this kind of chanting, where does it lead? Does it purify? Or it's...
Well, there's one story, isn't there, where Srila Prabhupada was, all the devotees were chanting with Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada stopped everybody and he said, "Who is schnicking?" And everybody was looking at everybody else like, and then they all started chanting again and said, "Who is schnicking?" And they were all looking at each other, And I think they finally found out which one was schnicking, So it only goes so far, A Krishna can't become a schnick. In fact, we do this book called 32 Ways Not to Chant Hare Krishna. And one of them is called New Mantra. And this devotee is chanting, schnick, schnick, giddy, 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 schnick, schnick, giddy. And then suddenly he has a heart attack and he dies. And suddenly, from out of nowhere, appear 3 personalities, And one of them looks very, very strange. It's very kind of weird haircut and a crazy overcoat on and a pair of Wellington boots. And he goes, "Oh, who are you?" And he goes, "I am the person you called for. I am Schnick Schnick." And then there's somebody next to him with a rake on his shoulder, and he's wearing a white T-shirt. And he says, "Well, who's this personality?" He says, "That's my older brother, Nom Nom." And then there's an old lady, hobbly lady. "And who's the old lady?" "That's Giddy Giddy. And we're going to take you now to Space Out Loka, where you can space out for thousands of years instead of chanting properly." So if you're trying the best that you can, like some cultures, they find it hard to say the R, so they say Hare Krishna. That's the best they can do. So Krishna will understand who they mean, Hare Krishna. So how far do you take it? We're always trying, and at the same time, Krishna's always making up the difference. So from our side, we try the best that we can, and then Krishna will make up the difference. Confirmed. When that happens, it means what you've just said is confirmed.
Yeah, I think another one is it's like if somebody gives us some feedback on japa and like how you react, it also qualifies whether Krishna will appreciate the skipping or not. If you say, "Oh, Prabhu, thank you so much, I will try my best to improve it," then Krishna will appreciate, if you're still missing after that. But if you're just like, "My chanting is completely fine, why you getting on my case, everything is great," and then
well, generally, when you mention the word feedback, that's usually when you'll see the devotees going, it's like saying we're going to go on a marathon. A marathon. So you say to him, "Prabhu, I'd just like to give you some feedback on your japa." Then he's like, so when we're giving feedback, we have to remember that our main duty as devotees is appreciation, and the feedback should be 90% positive. There should be so many things we can find, just like when we do the appreciation exercise, where suddenly we've just switched off the negative feedback, and then there's so much positive feedback, we don't even want to give the negative feedback. But at least if the negative feedback is there, and it's in amongst positive feedback, that it's very nice that you're trying so hard to chant, and you're making so much effort, and you're very regulated, and you're very committed, and you're such a wonderful devotee. And wouldn't it be amazing if you could actually, say it in a way that other people can recognize what it is? But so it would have to be a genuine appreciation, and then it would be a lot easier, a lot more palatable to accept something that you're not doing properly, because Rupa Goswami asks us to overlook the superficial things which may not be correct in a devotee, and appreciate the devotee's commitment and his service, Yes. Well, that's a nice incense.
So
Still being offered.
I have a question on japa. I was on a japa retreat with Mahatma Prabhu this summer, and he said that we should, when we chant japa, we should feel desperate and pray, so enter the mood of prayer.
Yeah.
And we should chant with our heart. So,
Yeah.
and not with the mind. So come into the heart.
Yeah.
And then there was an exercise. So he led us. So we chanted together in the room, and we tried to practice that. And he told us, like, focus on one problem that you really want to overcome. That if you don't overcome this problem, so pray to Krishna. And well, because I tend to have like an analytical mind, then I was trying to do that, but then when I do that, then I start to analyze the problem, instead of like entering the feeling into the heart. But then after that, I asked the question, like, how can I step out of the mind and more into the heart and feel, because sometimes when there's a situation and it's difficult and if we suffer, then it's easier to enter to the heart, and then even when we see the deities, so but then if we are like usually, like, during japa time every day, I find it difficult to like enter to this feeling mood, to the heart. So how can we step out of the mind, and are there some practical things that we can do to do that?
Yeah, it's like some things are going to take a while, and they aren't going to happen quickly. We can decide that we would like this thing to be able to chant from the heart and to be in a mood of urgency. Ainanda Tanus Kinkaram. That's one of the prayers that Mahaprabhu says he thinks of when he's chanting, "O son of Maharaj Nanda, somehow or other I've fallen. Pick me up and place me as an atom." So that's but the essence of prayer is feeling. So you could be standing in front of the deity. "Oh my Lord, pick me up, I'm like an atom. Put me at your lotus feet, somehow or other." So it's like the feeling, you're saying the prayer, this is how you should be feeling, but you don't actually feel like that. So you're trying to pull yourself, you're trying to align with, it's a principle which is actually a core principle in Krishna consciousness. And then with that comes a lot of other things as well: humility, dependence. You can't actually chant purely unless you're chanting with humility. So the pride is contaminating the chanting. It's causing a complacency. It's causing us to be relaxed, and we're desensitized to the danger that we're in. We're here in the material world, getting smashed around by the modes of nature. At any minute, we could make some big offense, and we could leave the path of bhakti. Very dangerous condition. Very, we want to get to nishta. We want to become fixed as quickly as we can, but it takes a while to get free of anartas. 75% of the anartas have to be removed, and we're in the clearing stage, trying to at least chant the best that we can, which is Nama Bas. So it's a precarious situation to be in, and that's why if we're engaged in service very intensely, with great urgency, and we're following everything very meticulously, then we increase the speed at which we're going to get to the point of Nishta. But the longer we mess around and the longer we drag our feet, and the longer we're reluctant and hesitant and resentful and desirous, then it's just the longer it's going to take before we get there, you know. It is quite a long haul. I mean, in the beginning, we all think it's going to happen overnight, and then we see devotees that have been around longer, and then we see, okay, so it does take a while. Of course, Shri Ramaj was saying that Krishna, at times, just to encourage the devotee, he gives them a glimpse of the halo of perfection. And you realize, oh, it is there. Oh my goodness me, it is there. And then suddenly the curtain closes again. The curtain of mind closes again, and you're back dark in the material world. But you know you saw something, you know there's something, and you know you have to keep going. And you want to increase how long before the next interval in between you and your next glimpse of the halo of perfection, you know.
Are there some examples of what this can be, this glimpse of the halo of perfection? Like in which form does it?
It's compared to, in the Bhagavatam, it's compared to a traveler who's lost in a dark forest, and he's stumbling and he can't find his way. And it's so dark in the forest that he's falling and bumping into trees, and there's ditches. And then suddenly there's a bolt of lightning, and it comes over the heavens. And for that split second, everything in the forest is lit up like in daylight, just for a split second, and then it goes again. But when it goes, the traveler now knows where the path is, where the ditch is, and where the big tree with the spiky branch sticking out of it is. So he kind of goes along on the path, just praying for the next bolt of lightning. So that's a little bit what it's like when you're in the Anatanavriti stage. You're a Kanishta Adhikari. That's the treacherous territory that you're traversing, you know. And then you can look at the statistics of how many people get through the forest and get to the other side, and how many get distracted or fall down ditches on the way. And it's less than half that make it through, because we're trying to make it now so that there's more knowledge, there's more mentoring going on, there's more feedback coming in to help direct devotees and guide them through, so that they don't become discouraged, you know. And sometimes maybe you can't see it anymore, you're in the dark, but somebody's already been through the same forest, and they can tell you where the ditch is, where the path is. So it's good to take shelter of devotees that are already at least a good way through the forest, if not out on the other side of the forest, you know.
Like these glimpses of perfection, can it be, for example, when we feel like sometimes like really blissful and satisfied, for example, during a kirtan or harinam, or then when we gave a book to someone. So like this feeling of total contentment inside, like can it be, for example, an example of this?
Yeah, sometimes it explains in the Nectar of Devotion. Sometimes, even though the devotee isn't qualified, sometimes he experiences ecstatic symptoms, especially if he's in the association of a prema bhakta already. Then, you know, if the devotee who's leading kirtan is relishing a very deep taste, and you're in the kirtan, then you also get to relish that taste that he's experiencing, you know. That's, Srila Prabhupada refers to that as the dadati principle in the Nectar of Instruction, is that giving and receiving gifts, the best gift to receive and the best gift to give is the taste for the holy name. So if you can be in a kirtan with somebody that's relishing the holy name, who's very advanced, then you get the gift of also getting that taste. Yeah, I'm sure we've all had that. We've all had some glimpse which has stirred the soul, and it's made us realize this is what I'm looking for. You know, we've looked for so many things in the material world, and then suddenly maybe we've seen the devotees on Harinam, or we've been chanting and we've had some powerful experience. I think it's really essential in a devotee's career that he does have some very, very powerful. You see with some of these Srila Prabhupada disciples, they just had one exchange with Prabhupada. What one devotee, old Prabhupada said to him was Jai. But it kept him going his entire life. He was like, he just, so many things happened when he said Jai.
So we were just hearing from Raghunath Bhatta Goswami how because all the Vaishnavas are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, he doesn't mind any of their faults.
Yeah.
So when somebody's in a position where they're mentoring or giving shiksha, then how do they kind of take that on board whilst also still having to deal some maybe criticism or some, aid in some respect?
Well, Rupa Goswami explains one whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So what it means by that is there's a difference between being given feedback and supported at the same time, and just being given feedback. It's a bit like if you're not a very good potter, and you get a lump of clay and you're spinning it around, and you're not very good at it, so you just go. But if you're very good at it, then you're able to provide steady support, and then you're able to give the pot feedback, and then you're able to shape something wonderful, So you have to find an expert potter. Otherwise, if you go to somebody that doesn't understand, is not elevated enough to refrain from the propensity to criticize, then they go, it's all wonky, look at that, what a load of rubbish, and then they'll just mess up the whole thing, you see. It needs to be an expert potter. At the same time, shiksha means he's giving instruction. He is guiding, but not without support. Constructive criticism. It's referred to in Naranjan Swami's book, Taking Care of Krishna's Devotees, as the most valuable commodity that a devotee can have is constructive criticism. Because he doesn't feel put down by it. Just like Krishna didn't put Arjuna down, he just said, you're better than this. How have these impurities come upon you, He reminded Arjuna of his heritage, O son of Bharat, O descendant of Bharat, O son of Kunti. And that made Arjuna think, yeah, I can do better than this. So just criticizing is violent communication, because then the person goes into defense mode. Why did you do that, you fat fool? And then the person's like, who you calling fat? Have you seen the size of yourself? And it's completely, no one's going to get anywhere, He's not going to get, I don't know what it is. Maybe he was trying to get the temple mopped, So the temple doesn't get nothing. Nobody achieves their goal, So nobody needs to feel attacked. So if you want to give somebody some feedback, it has to be, you're in a vulnerable way. I have a need for this temple room to be kept clean, and it hurts my heart very much to see it's not being kept clean and tidy. And then the person thinks, oh well, I don't want to hurt you by not cleaning the temple nicely. And so because you've made your needs apparent to him, and then you've respected his needs, that he doesn't want to feel insulted. And also he's being made to feel that he's capable of doing this, that he could do a much better job than he has done, So it's a fine art, actually.
So maybe there's some services, and this phrase is coming to mind: if you want something doing, then do it yourself. I wonder how at times this could be applicable when it comes to like this exact example. If something's not done in a way that you're happy with, and maybe you've already tried to address that, but it's
definitely one option. There's a lot of options, and the situation will vary so much depending on who the person is, the history, so many things. But definitely, with the ability to see a fault comes the responsibility to do something about it. So if you see there's litter on the floor, you can try and find out who dropped the litter and have them put in the stocks and that's mahego, so you can throw rotten cabbages at them. Or you could just pick it up and put it in the bin, and just try and encourage other people to do the same, Generally in a community, there's plenty of service opportunities there, actually. Plenty of things that can get done. One major service opportunity is to close that door, which is always open. Everyone goes past and sees it's closed. So there's one for everyone now. That'll keep everyone engaged 24/7. Please close the door. Or I could set up a drone with a battery on it that lasts 24 hours and watch a TV screen and have a loudspeaker on the drone. And when somebody leaves it open, let's shut that door. An elaborate arrangement. But sometimes it's just easier to close it. And also by intention as well. You may see somebody doing something that's not good. And by prayer and intention, you can wish that person would do it nicely. I've seen that happen as well, actually. Or maybe you've mentioned it to the person, but the person just doesn't compute it, he doesn't grasp the significance of why that has to be done, because he thinks, I can do it this way, this is the better way, So then sometimes you just have to pray, and then Krishna gives them the understanding in the heart so that they can change and see things differently, There's two paradigms, the way things are and the way things should be. That there are maps, that's how we live our life, our two maps, the way things are and the way things should be. But it's not necessarily that either of the maps are correct. And so that's why it's good to be open to feedback. And also it's good sometimes to ask somebody else, I'm seeing it like this, what do you think about this? And then you may have a different perspective completely. And then, well, I think ideally things should be like this. And then generally an older devotee doesn't see it like that. That's why Mahatma Prabhu was saying when all Prabhupada's disciples finally leave the planet, they're Prabhupada disciples, so they see things going on and they can just tell you immediately, Prabhupada would not be pleased with that. Prabhupada would definitely, back in the day, that type of thing happened. Prabhupada did not like it. So we don't have that now. And so we need to have a Prabhupada evening once a week, and we just sit there and we look at Prabhupada memories and we learn, wow, that's who Prabhupada was. There's the Prabhupada, the Shastric Prabhupada, but there's also the human Prabhupada, how he behaved as well. One time he was in the kitchen and he went up to, he took a sweet bowl and he popped it in his mouth, and the Mataji that was in there cooking, she goes, Prabhupada, they're not offered. And he goes, that's okay. Me and Krishna are good friends. So then we get a glimpse, the reality, what is actually, the reality of what's going on, And that's why we all came, wasn't it? Because Prabhupada melted our hearts. We realized Prabhupada was somebody special. And so we decided we wanted to take up Krishna consciousness. I mean, many people come here to our farm, but only those that read Srila Prabhupada's books and understand who Prabhupada is really get a chance to go deep into it. Otherwise, they kind of just skim along the surface, don't they? They don't really understand why it was like one man came and he saw all the devotees running around and they were all really keen, but they were all really untogether. So everything was like in a mess, He said he couldn't understand, didn't compute, really, really enthusiastic, but really, really spaced out. And then when Prabhupada came, he said, then I understood. He was like the missing link. Then he could understand why they were so fired up and enthused because of Prabhupada, even though they couldn't get it together. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Iskon Guru Vrinda ki jai, Shishi Kodanitaya Maya Pashashi ki jai, Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.